In the year 2057, humanity's reach had extended further than ever before, and the mysteries of the cosmos were no longer out of reach. It all began with a single question. How did everything begin? For years, humanity gazed up at the night sky, yearning to understand the forces that shaped our solar system, our galaxy, and ultimately, our existence. But in the not-so-distant future, a team of daring astronauts led by the intrepid Matt Sabernak would not just explore the known universe, they would unlock a hidden truth that changed everything we thought we knew about space, time, and the potential for life in the farthest corners of the cosmos. It all started in the most unlikely of places, the International Space Station, a platform once used for research and scientific exploration, had now transformed into humanity's window to the universe. From here, Matt Sabernak and his team were to guide millions on a journey across the 8 major planets of the solar system, each one holding secrets that could reshape human understanding of the cosmos. Welcome to the International Space Station in the year 2057. Matt's voice echoed through the speakers as he began his narration. The team was about to embark on a voyage that would explore not only the vastness of space, but also the origins of life itself. The real goal of their mission wasn't just to study Mars or Jupiter's moons. It was to uncover the ultimate secret, the possibility of extraterrestrial life and the origins of the universe. The crew's nomad rovers, unmanned high-tech exploration vehicles, had already been sent across the solar system, scouting planets, moons, and asteroids with capabilities far beyond their predecessors. These rovers were more than just tools. They were the gateway to answering questions that humanity had pondered for centuries. They had already gathered incredible data from the distant planets, including Mars, where the surface was known to be rich with clues that could indicate past life. However, the real breakthrough would come when they ventured deeper into the unknown, beyond the familiar, to where no human had ever set foot. "Let's start with Mars," Matt continued, his tone filled with excitement. "You probably know that Mars is the red planet, but let's take a deeper look. What if I told you that it might have once been home to life, perhaps even a civilization like ours?" The red planet had long been a focal point of human curiosity. Mars, with its reddish hue, was a rocky body much like Earth, but smaller, its atmosphere a thin shell of carbon dioxide. From Earth's vantage point, Mars seemed a barren, lifeless world. But scientists were starting to uncover compelling evidence that hinted at the planet's more complex past. Some believed that, millions of years ago, Mars was warm and wet, a prime candidate for life. The exploration rovers on Mars had captured haunting images of dry riverbeds, craters, and vast plains, all evidence that liquid water had once flowed on its surface. "Mars once had an ocean," Matt said as the camera zoomed in on an ancient, dried-up river delta. But something happened, the atmosphere thinned out and the water evaporated. What if the answer to life's biggest mystery was right here? The mystery of life on Mars. As Matt continued the tour, his words held a weight of mystery. The surface of Mars was peppered with towering volcanoes like Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system, and vast rift valleys like the Valles Marineris, a canyon so large it could stretch from one side of the United States to the other. But it wasn't just the geology that fascinated the team. It was the evidence of life, or at least the possibility of it. What if microbial life once existed here? Matt mused. Some scientists think that microbes could have survived deep beneath Mars's surface. Imagine, tiny ancient forms of life, hidden beneath layers of rock and dust. We may never know, but the possibility is tantalizing. It was during this discussion that an unexpected discovery was made. As the rover's sensors scanned the ground for any trace of water, they stumbled upon something even more extraordinary, an anomaly beneath the surface. At first, It appeared as just another geological feature, a large, cylindrical rock formation buried deep under the Martian soil. But as the rover's drill went deeper, it uncovered something strange. A metallic object, smooth and unnaturally shaped. "What is this?" Matt's voice crackled with excitement. This is something we weren't expecting." The team's initial thoughts were that the object could be a natural formation, but as they studied it more closely, they realized the truth. It was unnatural, engineered. The metal was unlike anything found on Earth or Mars, and the shape of the object suggested it wasn't a random piece of space debris. It was clear that someone, or something, had placed it there. The discovery set off a chain of events that would lead the team to question everything they thought they knew about the universe. Was this evidence of extraterrestrial life? Or was it something far older, perhaps the remains of an ancient civilization that had once thrived on Mars? The implications were immense, the doorway to the unknown. As Matt and his team dug deeper into the mystery, they found more objects, hidden pieces of a puzzle that didn't make sense. Ancient artifacts, possibly from an unknown species, were buried beneath the Martian surface, waiting for someone to uncover them. The questions grew more profound with each new discovery. Who had created these artifacts? And why had they been buried so deep in the planet's crust? Matt's team soon realized that this was no ordinary archaeological site. It was a gateway, a portal into the unknown. The objects seemed to be connected in ways that defied conventional understanding. It was as if they were part of a larger system, a hidden network that stretched far beyond Mars. With their discovery, the team's mission changed course. What had started as a simple exploration of the solar system had now evolved into something far greater, an expedition to uncover the secrets of an ancient intergalactic civilization. And what they didn't realize was that this was only the beginning. The deeper they dug, the more they uncovered. What they found was far beyond anything they had imagined. They had unwittingly stumbled upon a key to a mystery that had been locked away for billions of years. And now, the true adventure was about to begin. The discovery of the alien artifacts buried beneath the surface of Mars sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The team at the International Space Station, led by Dr. Matt Sabernak, had not expected their mission to uncover such a monumental mystery. What began as a routine mission to explore the Red Planet had now spiraled into something far more dangerous and unexplainable. Their discovery of metallic structures, seemingly engineered, hinted at the possibility of an ancient civilization, or perhaps something much more enigmatic. The Mars rover had uncovered not just metallic objects, but pieces that suggested a highly advanced technology, far beyond anything humanity had ever developed. As the team analyzed the objects, they found intricate patterns and designs that didn't match any known human or Martian constructions. These objects were not just artifacts. They were the remnants of a hidden intergalactic history, something that spanned beyond Earth's comprehension. Dr. Sabernak's voice trembled with a mix of excitement and fear as he gathered the crew for an emergency meeting. The data was being transmitted back to Earth in real time, but some of the findings were so disturbing that the team was hesitant to share everything. "We've found more than we bargained for," Matt began, his voice low. "What we thought were just remnants of an ancient Martian landscape are actually artifacts from a civilization far older than anything we could have imagined. This isn't just a discovery, it's a doorway." The artifacts were remarkably preserved, buried deep within layers of Martian rock, as if intentionally hidden. This wasn't just a simple burial. It was as though someone or something had deliberately placed these objects there, leaving them to be uncovered by a civilization that came long after they were created. And then there was the shocking realization that the artifacts weren't just random objects. They seemed to be part of a larger structure, a system that stretched beyond Mars and perhaps reached the far corners of the galaxy. The hidden map. Among the artifacts, one object stood out, a pyramid-shaped device with intricate markings that seemed to glow faintly when the rover's sensors scanned it. The moment the team began decoding its patterns, they discovered something that chilled them to the bone. The object was a map. Not a map of Mars, not a map of our solar system, but a map that stretched far beyond Earth's reach. A map of the stars. The patterns on the map seemed to indicate coordinates, but not in any system they recognized. The markings were unfamiliar, yet their structure pointed toward distant stars. As the team cross-referenced the coordinates, they discovered a shocking fact. Some of the stars marked on the map were already known to harbor exoplanets, but there was one anomaly. The map also pointed to unexplored regions of the galaxy, where no known stars existed, regions that were completely blank on current maps. "What is this?" Dr. Torres, one of the lead scientists, whispered in disbelief. "Are we looking at an ancient navigation system? Could this map guide us across galaxies?" The idea that an ancient civilization had the ability to navigate vast distances of space was both thrilling and terrifying. If the map was accurate, it suggested that this long-lost civilization had knowledge of the universe that surpassed humanity's most advanced technologies. They had mastered not just the art of space travel, but the art of interstellar exploration, using coordinates that were beyond current comprehension. The team quickly realized that the objects they had discovered on Mars were not isolated artifacts. They were a message, a calling card left behind by an unknown species. A species that had once explored the stars and perhaps left behind their legacy in the form of these maps and technology. But why had they been left on Mars? Why had they been buried so deep? A dangerous path forward. As the team pieced together the fragments of the map, they discovered another chilling detail. The map didn't just show the locations of stars and planets. It seemed to show openings in space-time itself, regions where the laws of physics no longer applied as they did elsewhere. These areas were described in the markings as thresholds, gateways that could provide access to other parts of the universe, or perhaps other realms entirely. The team was now faced with a staggering choice. The map offered the possibility of finding new worlds, new civilizations, and answers to questions about the origin of the universe. But the potential dangers were also immense. The thresholds marked on the map could be something far more dangerous than they had anticipated. They could be points of contact with unknown forces, possibly dangerous entities that were far beyond humanity's control. Matt Sabernak stood before his team, his face grim. "We're not just explorers anymore. This isn't just about learning. We're on the edge of something much bigger, something that could change everything we know about life, the universe, and our place in it. We've uncovered something that no one could have predicted, and we have to ask ourselves, are we ready to find out what's on the other side?" The team knew they were standing on the precipice of a discovery that could either propel humanity into a new era of space exploration or plunge them into a perilous unknown. The road ahead was uncharted and fraught with risks. But with the map they had uncovered, the promise of discovering the secrets of the cosmos was too great to ignore. Unraveling the cosmic web. As the team continued to study the map, they began to realize that the gateways marked by the caretakers, those thresholds in space-time, were not just part of one galaxy. The map was intergalactic in scope, spanning far beyond the Milky Way. These portals, these access points to alternate realities, were not confined to our universe alone. The implications were staggering. Could these pathways lead to entire parallel universes, each one governed by its own rules? Could humanity one day travel between different realities, experiencing multiple versions of life and existence? Could the very fabric of the universe be connected in a way they had never considered before, with gateways hidden in the deep corners of space? And then, there was the terrifying realization. The caretakers, The entities that had created these thresholds might still be out there waiting, watching. The team's discovery had awakened something in the universe, something that had been dormant for millennia. As they analyzed the remaining artifacts, they found disturbing evidence that the caretakers were not passive observers of the universe. They were active participants, guarding the gateways, ensuring that certain knowledge remained hidden, and controlling the access to dimensions and realities far beyond human comprehension. It was becoming clear that the universe, in its vastness, was not just a collection of stars and galaxies. It was a living entity, a web of interconnected forces and dimensions, with the caretakers standing watch over its most profound secrets. As the researchers continued their study of the artifacts, they began to unravel a deeper mystery, one that sent chills down their spines. The caretakers, the entities who had once ruled over the thresholds, were not just protectors of the gateways. They were architects of space-time, shapers of the universe itself. The evidence was unmistakable. The map they had uncovered was not just a navigation tool, it was a blueprint for the very fabric of existence. The idea that the universe was not random, but instead carefully constructed and maintained by an ancient sentient species, was a terrifying thought. But it was also an exciting one. If the caretakers were indeed the creators of the thresholds, the points where different realities and dimensions converge, then the secrets they had kept hidden could be beyond anything the human race could imagine. They could hold the key to understanding the true nature of existence itself. Dr. Torres, always the skeptic, was the first to speak up. If the caretakers have been shaping the very fabric of space and time, what else could they be hiding? We might be dealing with forces far beyond our comprehension. Forces that, once unlocked, could change the universe forever. The more the team examined the artifacts, the more they realized that the caretakers had left behind something far more dangerous than they had anticipated. Some of the artifacts seemed to be encoded with instructions, specific steps, for accessing these thresholds, these gateways. They weren't just discovering maps, they were uncovering instructions for travel. The kind of travel that could take humanity to realms outside the known universe, to alternate dimensions, and possibly even parallel timelines. But the questions persisted. If the caretakers were the ones who had created these thresholds, why had they been abandoned? Why had they left these cosmic highways open to explorers? Had they somehow foreseen the arrival of humans? Or was this a trap, the truth? Behind the caretakers' weeks of research led the team to a startling realization. Through careful decoding, they discovered that the caretakers were not the creators of the universe. Instead, they were guardians of an even greater force, a force that predated even the existence of space and time. The caretakers had merely been the first to harness this power, the first to understand how to control it. They had become the keepers of this knowledge, protecting it from falling into the wrong hands. But now the knowledge was theirs to unlock. The team learned that the caretakers had discovered the source, a concept that went beyond science and philosophy. It was an ancient energy that existed at the very core of the universe, responsible for everything from the creation of galaxies to the flow of time itself. It was a force so powerful that it could manipulate the very fabric of reality, and the caretakers had found a way to tap into it, to use it to create the thresholds, to open gateways to other realities. As Matt Sabernak and his team continued to explore, they realized that their mission was no longer just about understanding the universe. It was about protecting it from forces that had the potential to unravel everything. The source was both a gift and a curse. If misused, it could destroy the fabric of reality, collapsing entire universes, or even collapsing the multiverse itself. But the caretakers had left behind something more. A warning, a cryptic message encoded into the final artifact, an object that seemed to pulse with a dark energy. The message was simple but chilling. Do not open the final door. The final door. The team was on the brink of a discovery that could change everything. The artifacts had led them to a point where they could now access the final threshold. It was a place that no one had ever ventured, a space between realities, a void that existed outside of time. To step through the final door would be to confront the unknown, to cross into a dimension where anything was possible. But what awaited them on the other side? Dr. Torres was the first to speak up. The caretakers told us not to open it. There's a reason for that. What if the door isn't just a gateway? It's a prison. What if the source is something we weren't meant to understand? Her words hit hard. There were so many questions, so few answers. The temptation to open the final door, to explore the last frontier, was overwhelming. But the warnings, the cryptic messages left behind by the caretakers, loomed large in their minds. Could they afford to ignore them? For days, the team debated. Their mission had already changed the course of history. They had uncovered knowledge that could propel humanity to the farthest corners of the galaxy and beyond. But with that knowledge came responsibility. Could they handle the power they were about to unlock? Were they prepared to face the consequences of accessing a force that could destroy everything they knew? Finally, after much deliberation, Dr. Sabernack made the decision. "We're going through," he said, his voice resolute. "We've come this far, and humanity deserves to know the truth. The truth about the source, the truth about the caretakers, the truth about everything." With that, they initiated the sequence to open the final door. The room around them began to hum with energy, the air thick with the power of the force they were about to unleash. The event horizon of the black hole, once just a point of study, now felt like a living, breathing thing, waiting to swallow them whole. The universe was holding its breath, as though it too was awaiting the outcome of this monumental decision. As the team watched, the final door began to open. A brilliant, blinding light flooded the room, and for a moment they could see nothing at all. Then they were through. Beyond the threshold, the moment they crossed the threshold, everything changed. The team found themselves in a place unlike anything they could have imagined. The laws of physics didn't apply here, and the dimensions of space-time seemed to warp and twist in impossible ways. They had entered a dimension outside of reality, where time itself seemed to lose meaning. It was a place where the boundaries between universes dissolved. They were surrounded by endless voids, swirling mists of energy that stretched as far as the eye could see. There were no stars, no planets, just an infinite sea of energy, rippling with the force of creation itself. And then they heard it. A voice, deep and resonant, reverberating through their minds. It was the voice of the caretakers. "You have entered the beyond," the voice said, "but you are not alone. The source is not just the power of the universe. It is the power of all that exists, and all that ever will. But beware, it is not for you to control." The team stood frozen, their minds racing with the knowledge that they were no longer just explorers. They were participants in something far greater than they could understand. They had unlocked the power to shape the fabric of existence itself, but the price for that knowledge was unknown. And as they stood on the threshold of this new reality, they realized that their journey had only just begun. As the team stood in the heart of the mysterious dimension beyond the threshold, they felt the weight of the universe pressing down upon them. The space around them was indescribable, vast and infinite, filled with swirling patterns of light and energy that seemed to defy all logic. It was as if they had entered a realm where the very laws of physics were rewritten, where time and space were not linear but fluid, malleable to the will of an ancient, unseen force. The caretakers had warned them. The source is not for you to control. The voice echoed in their minds, growing louder, reverberating with the sound of ancient knowledge and cosmic power. The team exchanged nervous glances, realizing that they were standing at the intersection of creation and destruction, at the very core of the universe's deepest mysteries. "What is the source?" Dr. Sabernak asked, his voice breaking the silence. He knew that they could not ignore the power before them, but the question that hung in the air was whether they could contain it, or if they even should. For the first time in his life, Matt felt the true enormity of their mission. This was not just about exploration. It was about power, dangerous power, and the responsibility that came with it. The caretakers had given them a choice that would shape the future of not just humanity, but of every reality they had glimpsed. The answer they couldn't understand. The caretaker's voice filled the air again, this time softer, more distant, as if acknowledging their uncertainty. "The source is the origin of all that exists. It is the energy that fuels creation, the force that shapes galaxies, that births stars and defines the very fabric of existence. It is the key to all realities, the ultimate power, but its control has been entrusted to those who have the wisdom to use it, and the wisdom to resist its temptation." The words sank in, and the realization hit them like a wave. They were not just standing before the universe's power, they were standing before the very fabric of reality itself, something so ancient and unfathomable that it defied comprehension. For the first time, the team understood the weight of their discovery. The source wasn't just energy. It was the creator, the destroyer, the life-giver, and the death-bringer of all that existed. It was the origin of everything, and the team had been chosen, for better or worse, to interact with it. And now, they had to decide what to do with this knowledge. The temptation of infinite power. Dr. Torres stepped forward, her face tense, her mind racing. The team had already learned so much, but this was different. They had always been driven by curiosity, by the desire to understand. But understanding was one thing, wielding the source was another. The possibility of using this power for good, to solve Earth's energy crises, to cure diseases, or even to advance human civilization beyond its current limits, was too tempting to ignore. But there was a darkness in the voice of the caretakers, a warning that chilled Torres to her core. They had spoken of wisdom, but what did that truly mean? Who were the caretakers to impose such limitations? Could humanity really be trusted with this power, or would it consume them as it had countless civilizations before? "We must understand what we're dealing with," Torres said quietly, as her fingers hovered above the control panel in the ship. "We don't know if humanity is ready for this. We don't even understand all of it yet." Matt, too, was conflicted. "We've come this far. We can't just turn back now." As the team debated, the light around them grew brighter. The source, the living energy of the cosmos, pulsed, alive, waiting for them to make a choice. And then, the caretakers spoke again. "You must decide now," the voice echoed. "The source is not to be used lightly. It can reshape everything, every universe, every reality, every timeline. Choose wisely, for once the path is taken, there is no return." The consequences of control. Dr. Sabernak knew the truth. The power to control the source could rewrite the universe itself. They could become the architects of not just their own reality, but of entire multiverses. With this power, they could erase pain, extend life, and even create new worlds. The temptation was overwhelming. But what of the consequences? Could they risk becoming the very force of destruction they had been warned about? "The source is not meant to be a tool," Matt said, his voice hoarse with emotion. "We are not gods. We are explorers. We don't have the right to use this power." But Torres looked at him, eyes burning with determination. "What if we could use it to save our world, to make things right? What if this is why we were chosen, to protect, not to destroy?" The team's decision weighed heavily upon them, but then the energy around them began to shift. The caretakers, who had been silent, began to radiate a calm, warm glow. The message was clear now. It wasn't just about power, it was about choice. And with that, the final decision was made. The legacy of the caretakers. Instead of using the source for their own gain, the team made a sacrifice. They left the energy undisturbed. The caretakers, sensing their wisdom, sent them back, their minds forever altered by the experience, but with the understanding that true power lies not in the ability to control, but in the ability to resist. They had seen the true face of the universe, not just its wonders, but its dangerous beauty. The team returned to Earth, bringing with them the knowledge they had uncovered, but no longer in search of control. They had learned that humanity's future lay not in wielding godlike power, but in respecting the universe's natural forces and mysteries. They could explore, discover, and learn, but they could never control what lay beyond the stars. The legacy of the caretakers was not one of domination. It was a cautionary tale, a reminder that the universe is vast and filled with forces too great for any one species to comprehend. And as humanity took its first steps toward the stars, they did so with newfound humility, forever aware that the infinite cosmos was both a gift and a challenge, one that would require wisdom and respect for the unknown. The journey of exploration had only just begun, and the team knew that the universe was waiting. But they had learned that sometimes the greatest discovery was not the pursuit of power, but the understanding of the limits of that pursuit. The end.